It was a rainy Tuesday in October when Marcus Silva, a 34-year-old app delivery driver, was racing against time to make his last delivery of the day. There were only 20 minutes left before the restaurant closed, and he needed those final $15 from the delivery to afford his daughter's medication. That's when he saw an elderly man lying on the side of the road with a broken bicycle beside him, completely soaked by the rain. Marcus had two choices: ignore it and guarantee his delivery, or stop to help and lose the money. What he chose to do at that moment would change his life forever in a way he could never imagine. Marcus Silva was a hard-working man who had been doing deliveries for 3 years to support his family. He lived in a small rented house in Queens with his wife Anna and his 8-year-old daughter Sophia, who was born with a medical condition requiring expensive monthly medications. Anna worked as a house cleaner part-time, but her salary barely covered the basic household expenses. Every dollar Marcus earned from deliveries was counted and recounted. They lived on the edge, with no financial reserves. That specific month, Sophia had needed an extra medication that cost $180. Marcus had worked 14 hours a day for 2 weeks to scrape together the money, and he still needed the last 15 hours. This final delivery of the day was crucial. Marcus drove a 2008 motorcycle that he had bought used and that constantly had problems. He didn't have money for expensive repairs, so he had learned to do small fixes himself by watching internet videos. He was a man of solid character, always polite with customers, never late, and had a 4.9-star rating on the app. But that Tuesday, fate would put a test in his path. The rain had started around 6 p.m. and kept intensifying. Marcus was making his second-to-last delivery when he received an order from a Japanese restaurant downtown for a delivery to the west side. It was a $25 run, exactly what he needed to complete the medication money. The restaurant was in a busy area, and Marcus got there at 7:40 p.m. The order was delayed because the sushi had taken longer to prepare, and now he would have to rush to make the delivery before 8:30 p.m., the deadline the customer had specified. Marcus grabbed the food, checked the address on GPS, and headed toward the destination. The rain was getting heavier, and traffic was complicated. He needed to take a side street to get there faster. It was on this street, in a darker and less busy stretch, that he saw the scene that would change everything. On the right side of the road, by the roadside, Marcus saw an elderly man of approximately 75 years old lying on the ground next to an old bicycle. The man was soaked by the rain, his clothes were dirty with mud, and he seemed to be trying to get up by himself, but couldn't. Marcus slowed down the motorcycle and looked at the time, 8:15 p.m. If he stopped to help, he would certainly lose the delivery. The customer had been very clear that he wouldn't be available after 8:30 p.m., and there were still 15 minutes of travel left. For a few seconds, Marcus hesitated. Those $25 were fundamental for his family. Sophia was waiting for the medication at home. Anna was worried about the month's bills, but when he saw the elderly man trying to lean on the broken bicycle and slipping in the mud again, Marcus couldn't continue driving. "My God," he thought, "how am I going to sleep knowing I left an elderly man alone in the rain?" Marcus parked the motorcycle, took his extra rain cape from the thermal bag, and ran to the elderly man. "Sir, are you okay?" Marcus asked, covering the elderly man with the rain cape. The man looked up, and Marcus was impressed. Despite the precarious situation, this man had a serene and intelligent look. His clothes, although dirty from the fall, seemed to be of good quality. "Thank you, son," said the elderly man with a weak voice. "I was coming back from the market when the bicycle chain broke. I tried to fix it, but slipped in the mud and twisted my foot." Marcus looked at the bicycle. It was an old model, but well-maintained. In the baskets were shopping bags with basic products: bread, milk, some vegetables. "Let's get out of this rain first," Marcus said. "Do you live far from here?" "I live up that street, yellow house with a green gate. But don't worry, son, I don't want to interfere with your work. Marcus looked at the thermal bag on his motorcycle. The Japanese food was inside and time was passing, but there was no way to leave that man alone. Don't worry about that. Let's take you home first. Marcus helped the elderly man get up and noticed he was really limping. It wouldn't be possible to walk home in those conditions. Listen, Marcus said, I'm going to call the customer and explain the situation. You stay here under that awning while I figure out a way to get you home. Marcus grabbed the phone and called the delivery customer. He explained that he was helping an elderly person in an emergency and would arrive about 30 minutes late. The response was harsh. Look, I specified the time. If you don't arrive by 8:30, you can cancel. I won't be here anymore. Marcus looked at the elderly man under the awning, shivering with cold, and made his decision. All right, you can cancel then, Marcus said, knowing he would lose the $25 and still receive a negative rating. He hung up the phone and went back to the man. All set, problem solved. Now let's take care of you. Marcus helped the elderly man get on the back of the motorcycle. Something complicated and dangerous, but it was the only way to transport him. He drove slowly through the streets until reaching a quiet residential area. The house was simple but well-maintained. A single-story house painted yellow with a small garden in front. Everything was organized and clean, showing that someone who cared about details lived there. My name is Albert, said the elderly man as Marcus helped him get off the motorcycle. Albert Santos. And you, son? Marcus Silva, Mr. Albert. I work with deliveries. Marcus, you just saved a stubborn old man, Albert said with a smile. Come in, please. I want to at least offer you some hot coffee. Marcus hesitated. It was almost 9 p.m. Anna and Sophia were waiting at home, and he still needed to go back to get Albert's bicycle that had been left on the street. You don't need to trouble yourself. I insist, Albert said. It's the least I can do. Albert's house inside was even more surprising than outside. Everything was impeccably organized. There were many books on the shelves, well-arranged paintings on the walls, and old but quality furniture. Sit there in the living room, I'll make some coffee, Albert said, limping toward the kitchen. Mr. Albert, let me do it. You're hurt. Marcus went to the kitchen and was impressed. It was an old kitchen, but everything was of excellent quality. Expensive kitchen utensils, good appliances, fine dishes. While the coffee was brewing, Albert sat in an armchair in the living room and began talking with Marcus. Tell me about yourself, Marcus. Family? I have a wife and an 8-year-old daughter. I've been working with deliveries for 3 years. It's honest work, Albert said. And your daughter? Is she in good health? Marcus hesitated, but something in Albert's posture made him trust. Actually, she has a medical condition that requires expensive medications. I was making this delivery to get the money for her medicine. Albert was silent for a few seconds, analyzing Marcus. And you lost the delivery to help me? No problem, Mr. Albert. Tomorrow I'll figure it out. Marcus served the coffee and sat across from Albert. For an hour, they talked about life, family, work, dreams. Albert was an incredible listener and asked intelligent questions. Marcus, Albert said after a while, can I ask you a personal question? Sure. If you had enough money, what would you change in your life? Marcus thought for a few seconds. Honestly, first I'd ensure my daughter's treatment without worrying about money. Then I'd buy a house for my family, and maybe start a small business so I wouldn't depend only on deliveries. And what prevents you from doing that? Reality, Mr. Albert. I earn little, spend almost everything. It's hard to save money when you live on the edge. Albert nodded thoughtfully. Marcus, you seem like a person of integrity. In these 3 years doing deliveries, have you had opportunities to be dishonest? The question surprised Marcus. What do you mean? Have you received wrong change in your favor? Have you found something on the street you could sell? Situations where you could have made money questionably? Marcus thought, yes. Last month, a customer gave me $50 for $30 change. He was distracted. I went back to return the $20. I found wallets on the street, too. Always looked for the owners. Why did you do that? Nobody would know. Because my mother taught me that a person's character is measured when nobody is watching, and I want my daughter to be proud of her father. Albert smiled. It was the kind of smile from someone who had found exactly what they were looking for. Marcus, Albert said, getting up and walking to a bookshelf. I need to tell you something, and I need you to promise you'll keep it secret until I authorize it. Of course, you can trust me. Albert took a photo album from the shelf and returned to the armchair. My full name is Albert Santos Silva. You might not know this name, but I'm the founder of Santos Logistics, one of the largest transportation companies in the country. Marcus almost dropped his coffee cup. Santos Logistics was a huge company, with trucks spread throughout America. You're kidding? I'm not, son. I built the company from scratch. Started as a truck driver 50 years ago. Today, the company is worth over $800 million. Albert opened the album and showed photos. Him at business ceremonies, receiving awards alongside famous politicians and businessmen. But why were you on the street with a bicycle shopping at the market like a regular person? Albert laughed. Because I am a regular person, Marcus. Rich, but regular. I've lived in this house for 40 years, do my own shopping, ride my bicycle around the city. Money didn't change me. Marcus, I'm going to explain why I'm telling you this, Albert continued. 2 years ago, I received a medical diagnosis that changed my perspective on life. It's nothing terminal, but it made me think about what really matters. Marcus listened in silence, still processing the revelation. I have 2 children who live abroad. They're good people, but they grew up in wealth and lost connection with simple values. They'll inherit the company, but I wanted to do something special with part of my fortune. Something special like what? A year ago, I started a personal project. I walk around the city in normal situations observing people. I look for people of character, people who do good without expecting reward. People like you. Marcus was completely lost. I don't understand. Marcus, you lost $25 today to help a stranger in the rain. For you, those $25 represent a lot. For someone rich, it would be like losing 1 cent. But you made the right choice even when it hurt you. Albert got up again and went to an old desk in the corner of the room. He came back with a folder of documents. Marcus, I'm going to make you a proposal, but first I need to know, would you be willing to work for me? Of course, Mr. Albert, it would be an honor. Good, because it's not exactly working for me. It's working with me. Albert opened the folder and took out some documents. I'm creating a foundation that will help working families like yours. Families that need an opportunity to get out of difficulty. And I need someone to run this foundation. But, Mr. Albert, I don't have the education for that. Marcus, you have something more important than a diploma. You have character, and character isn't taught in university. Albert showed the documents. This foundation will have an initial budget of $50 million. It will offer interest-free microcredit, professional training courses, medical assistance, and help for people to buy their own homes. Marcus was speechless. And I want you to be the president-director of the foundation. Starting salary of $15,000 per month, complete health plan for your family, own house financed by the foundation, and all your daughter's medications paid for. Marcus was silent for almost 5 minutes, looking at the documents. His hands were shaking. Mr. Albert, is this really serious? Completely serious. But there's one condition. Marcus's heart accelerated. What? You'll have to study. I'll pay for a business administration degree for you, and you'll have to graduate. I can't put someone without formal qualifications in a position like this. I accept. Of course I accept. Wait. There are more conditions. You'll start from the bottom in my company, learning all departments. It will take 2 years until you take over the foundation's direction. During this time, you'll earn $8,000 per month, but with all the benefits. Marcus was crying. Mr. Albert, why are you doing this for me? because 50 years ago I was just like you. Poor, hard-working, with a family to support. And one day, a rich man gave me an opportunity. Today, it's my turn to be that man. That same night, Albert called a lawyer and began preparing all the documents. Marcus called Anna to tell her the news and she thought he was joking. "Marcus, did you drink something in that house?" "Anna, it's serious. Tomorrow he's going to get Sophia's medications and Monday I start working at the company." The next morning, Albert showed up at Marcus's house driving a simple car, but arrived with a pharmacy bag with all of Sophia's medications for 3 months. "These are just the first ones," Albert told Anna. "From now on, you'll never have to worry about this again." Anna cried when she saw the medicines. They were exactly the same ones she had on the medical prescription, but that cost a fortune. Marcus started working at Santos Logistics the following Monday. Albert put him in the delivery sector so he could learn the operation from inside. "You already know what it's like to be on the other side," Albert said. "Now you'll learn what it's like from the inside." For 6 months, Marcus worked in different sectors: deliveries, logistics, customer service, finance, human resources. Albert made sure to personally monitor his progress. "How's it going, Marcus?" "Incredible, Mr. Albert. Every day I learn something new. And it's very different working for a company that treats employees well." At night, Marcus studied for college entrance exams. Albert had hired a private tutor to help him with subjects he had more difficulty with. Anna got a better job through Albert's contacts, and Sophia was having the best medical care of her life. After a year, Marcus had passed the entrance exam and was studying business administration at a private university with a full scholarship paid by Albert. At work, he showed an impressive ability to understand the needs of employees and customers. His ideas were implemented and produced results. "Marcus," Albert said during a meeting, "you have a different vision from other managers. Where does this come from?" "I think it comes from having been on the other side, Mr. Albert. When you've been the guy who depends on delivery to eat, you understand the responsibility we have." Albert smiled proudly. He had made the right choice. At the end of the first year, Albert promoted Marcus to regional manager with a salary of $12,000. "Mr. Albert, this is more than I dreamed of having in my entire life." "Marcus, this is just the beginning. You haven't even seen the foundation working yet." At the beginning of the second year, Albert began showing Marcus the detailed plans for the foundation. "It's going to be called the Hope Foundation," Albert explained, "and it will work like this. Hardworking people who are in financial difficulty will be able to ask for help. We'll analyze each case and offer personalized solutions." "How will we identify these people?" "Through referrals from people like you. People who know the reality of the streets, who know how to identify who really needs help and who has character." Marcus was fascinated with the project. It was exactly the kind of help he would have liked to receive years ago. "And how will we ensure the money isn't wasted?" "That's the most important part, Marcus. We won't give money directly. We'll pay for courses, medical treatments, down payments for houses, equipment to start businesses, everything directed and monitored." Still, during Marcus's training, Albert decided to test the foundation's system. "Marcus, do you know someone who could be our first beneficiary?" Marcus immediately thought of Carlos, a colleague from his delivery days who was going through difficulties. Carlos's wife had lost her job, and they were 3 months behind on rent. "I do know someone, a very hard-working friend, but who's in a difficult situation. Let's visit him together." Albert and Marcus went to Carlos's house on a Thursday afternoon. Carlos was surprised to see Marcus accompanied by a well-dressed gentleman. "Carlos, this is Mr. Albert. He has a proposal for you." Albert explained about the foundation and offered to help Carlos with the overdue rent, a mechanics course, which Carlos had always wanted to take, and equipment to set up a small workshop. "What's the catch?" Carlos asked, suspicious. "There's no catch," Albert replied. "The only requirement is that you commit to helping other people when you're in a position to do so." Carlos accepted, moved. 3 months later, he had graduated from the mechanics course and had set up a small workshop in his backyard. At the end of the second year, Marcus had graduated in business administration and was ready to take over the direction of the Hope Foundation. The inauguration ceremony was simple at Santos Logistics headquarters with the presence of employees and some foundation beneficiaries. "Marcus," Albert said during his speech, "2 years ago you saved me from a fall in the rain. Today you're going to save hundreds of families from poverty." Marcus, in his speech, said, "I never imagined that stopping to help someone could change my life this way. But I learned that when we do good, good comes back to us in unexpected ways." The foundation officially began operating with Marcus as president-director, earning $18,000 per month and having full autonomy to make decisions about projects. In the first 6 months under Marcus's direction, the Hope Foundation helped 150 families. Marcus developed a rigorous system for selecting and monitoring beneficiaries. "It's not enough to just give money," Marcus explained to the team. "We have to give opportunity and knowledge." The foundation offered interest-free microcredit for small businesses, free professional training courses, medical assistance for expensive treatments, help buying their own homes, scholarships for beneficiaries' children. Albert followed everything closely and was impressed with the results. "Marcus, you exceeded my expectations. The foundation has a 98% approval rate among beneficiaries. It's because I understand their reality, Mr. Albert. I've been there." The Hope Foundation's story began attracting media attention. Magazines and newspapers wanted to interview Albert about his social project, but Albert always made sure to highlight Marcus's role. "The real person responsible for the foundation's success is Marcus Silva. He's the one who understands people's real needs." Marcus was invited to speak at universities about social entrepreneurship and NGO management. "My story proves that a single attitude can change an entire life," Marcus said in lectures. "I stopped to help a man in the rain and discovered that the greatest treasure isn't money, but the opportunity to make a difference in people's lives." 3 years after that rainy night, Marcus was driving his own car, a simple model but brand new, to the house he owned where he lived with Anna and Sophia. Sophia was completely cured and attended a private school. Anna had finished a nursing course sponsored by the foundation and worked at the company hospital. The Hope Foundation had already helped over 800 families and become a national reference in social projects. Marcus earned $25,000 per month as president-director, had lifetime health insurance for his family, and 10% of Santos Logistics profits went directly to the foundation. On a Tuesday morning, exactly 3 years after the first meeting, Marcus was at the foundation office when he received a call from Albert. "Marcus, I need you to come to my house. There's a surprise for you." When Marcus arrived at the yellow house with the green gate, he found Albert in the garden, but he wasn't alone. There were several people there. Carlos, the foundation's first beneficiary, Anna, Sophia, and about 20 other people Marcus recognized as foundation beneficiaries. "What's this, Mr. Albert?" "Marcus, today marks exactly 3 years since we met, and I wanted to surprise you." Albert addressed the group. "Everyone, this man changed your lives. But do you know how it all started?" People fell silent, curious. 3 years ago on a rainy night, Marcus lost an important delivery to help an unknown old man who had fallen from his bicycle. "He didn't know who I was, expected nothing in return. He did it simply because it was the right thing to do." Albert looked at Marcus. "And today, because of that attitude, 800 families have had their lives transformed." Albert addressed the group again. "That's why we all got together to give Marcus a gift." Carlos stepped forward. "Marcus, you saved my family. Because of you, I managed to set up my workshop, and today I employ 5 people. An elderly woman approached. "My grandson was able to go to college because of the foundation's scholarship. Today he's graduated in engineering." A young couple said, We managed to buy our own house through the foundation's program. And so, one by one, people told how the foundation had changed their lives. At the end, Albert handed an envelope to Marcus. Marcus, inside this envelope is the definitive deed for 20% of Santos Logistics. You're now officially my partner. Marcus opened the envelope and saw the document that made him owner of 20% of a company valued at almost $1 billion. Mr. Albert, it's fair, Marcus. You proved you deserve it. And more. When I retire definitively, you'll also take over the company's presidency. That night, Marcus was at home with Anna and Sophia, still processing everything that had happened. "Daddy," Sophia asked, "why did you help that man that night?" Marcus thought about the answer. "Because your grandmother always taught me that we should help people when they need it, even when it costs us something. And now you're rich?" "Yes, my daughter. But you know what the most important part is? It's not being rich. It's being able to help other people change their lives too." Anna, who was listening to the conversation, said, "Marcus, you were always rich. Rich in character. The money just came later." 5 years after that rainy night, Marcus had become one of the most respected people in American business. The Hope Foundation was internationally recognized, and Marcus was frequently invited to speak about social responsibility. Albert, at 80 years old, had officially retired and passed the presidency of Santos Logistics to Marcus. The company grew, 200% under his management, always maintaining focus on social responsibility. Sophia, now 13 years old, used to go to foundation activities on weekends, helping with the beneficiaries' children. "Daddy," she said on one of these days, "when I grow up, I want to work at the foundation too." "Why, my daughter?" "Because it's really good to see people happy when they receive help. It's like we're planting smiles." Marcus smiled, knowing he had managed to pass the right values to his daughter. The small act of stopping in the rain to help a stranger had transformed into a legacy of social transformation that would continue for generations. And whenever someone asked Marcus what the secret to his success was, he would answer, "Simple. Treat people the way you'd like to be treated, especially when nobody is watching. The rest is consequence." So what did you think of this incredible story of how a single attitude can change an entire life? Did Marcus make the right choice by stopping to help the elderly man, even losing the delivery? Leave your opinion in the comments. And always remember, a person's character is revealed in small gestures, especially when nobody is watching. Sometimes the opportunity of our lifetime is disguised as a difficult moment where we have to choose between our interest and doing what's right. Always treat people with kindness and respect, because you never know who might be testing your character or who might need exactly your help at that moment. If you liked this emotional story of how kindness was rewarded in a millionaire way, hit that like button, share it with your friends, and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any of our stories that show there are still good people in the world, and hit that notification bell to be the first to watch.